Shinkingo, two choices. Either you take the blame for man's embezzlement of 30 million in public funds and spend 3 years in prison, or sign this divorce agreement. Leave with nothing, and I'll ensure your Shin family emerges unscathed from that acquisition case. In the frigid interrogation room, the fluorescent light emitted a faint hiss like a venomous snake flicking its tongue. The air was thick with the smell of cheap disinfectant and old file folders, oppressive enough to make it hard to breathe. I sat on the cold metal interrogation chair, facing my husband in name only, Lu Shu, the most aloof and prestigious figure in Haiyan. He wore an impeccably tailored dark gray suit, the cufflinks reflecting a cold metallic sheen under the dim light. His face remained as handsome as a deity's, yet as cold and expressionless as an ice sculpture. His slender fingers pressed down on 2 documents, pushing them toward me. Monin is not in good health. She can't stay in a place like that. His voice was cool and steady, as if discussing a trivial exchange of goods. The debt Yashin family owes to the Lu Group sign this agreement, and it will be cleared. I lowered my gaze, staring at the divorce agreement. My heart felt as if it were being torn apart by a rusty blunt knife, the pain so intense it turned numb, eventually giving way to a faint, absurd sneer. Lin Man, his first love, the one he cherishes most. A week ago, a major financial discrepancy was discovered in a project led by Lin Man. To protect her, Lu Shu went to great lengths, dismantling and reconstructing the chain of evidence, ultimately directing all suspicion toward me, the nominal Mrs. Lu, the former actuary of the Lu Group. Lu Shu, do you remember that today is our 4th wedding anniversary? I spoke softly, my voice as dry as if it had been sanded down. Lu Shu glanced at his watch, his brow slightly furrowed, a sign of his impatience. Shunning Chio, reminiscing is pointless. Lawyer Zhang explained the current situation to her. Lawyer Zhang Chung, who had been standing in the shadows, stepped forward, adjusted his glasses, and spoke in a sharp, businesslike tone. Miss Shan, all the current transfer records and approval signatures point to you. If you refuse to cooperate, you could face over 10 years in prison. However, Mr. LSE take the full proposal would only require 3 years, and he would handle everything. Of course, I personally recommend you choose divorce. At least that way you can preserve what little dignity the Shin family has left. I looked up at Zhang Cheng, then at the woman who had just pushed the door open behind him. Lin Man was dressed in a plain white dress, delicate as a willow swaying in the wind. Her eyes rimmed red, and she twisted a handkerchief in her hands. She nestled close to Lu Shu, her voice as faint as a mosquito's hum. Shu, maybe I should go instead. I can't bear to see sister Ching Cho like this, even though the money really did flow out of her account. I believe she must have had her reasons. Watching Lin Man's masterful performance, I felt a wave of nausea churning in my stomach. Flowed out of my account. I retorted, my gaze sharp as a blade as I shot it toward Lin Man, you know better than anyone how that money ended up in your private overseas account. Did you think deleting a few server logs would make it seamless? Lin Man shrank back into Lu Shu's arms like a frightened rabbit. Shu, I'm scared. Lu Shu's face instantly turned cold. He abruptly stood up, leaning forward, his overwhelming presence almost suffocating me. He looked at me with disgust. Shinkinko, put away that nauseating jealousy of yours. Man is inherently kind-hearted. She would never do such a thing. Your denial only makes me feel that marrying you was the biggest mistake of my life. The biggest mistake. I repeated the words, my eyes stinging, yet stubbornly refusing to shed a single tear. For years ago, the Shin family fell into hardship, and Grandma Lu was critically ill, insisting that I marry into the family before she would agree to surgery for the sake of filial piety and the Lu family shares. Lu Shu married me over these 4 years. I poured my heart and soul into the Lu Corporation, using my actuarial talents to help him avoid countless financial pitfalls and expand the Liu family's territory threefold. In the end, in his eyes, I was nothing but a scheming, jealous burden. Even the kind Lin man he spoke of was someone I dug out from the wreckage 4 years ago at the scene of a car accident, enduring my own bleeding. Yet, while I was unconscious, Lin Man took the credit for saving his life, becoming the eternal white moonlight in Lu Shu's heart. I lowered my head and looked at my abdomen, where 2 faint heartbeats were pulsing rhythmically. It had been 2 months, and I hadn't had the chance to tell him yet. Now it seems it's a good thing I didn't. All right, I suddenly spoke up, picking up the pen on the table. A flicker of surprise crossed Lucas' eyes, followed by a look of dismissive contempt as if it were only to be expected. I choose divorce. On the divorce agreement, I wrote my name stroke by stroke. The handwriting was sharp, the pen nearly piercing the paper. Miss Shawn is indeed sensible. John Kang revealed a triumphant smile. But I have 3 conditions. I set down the pen and looked directly into Lu Xiu's deep, cold eyes. First, the debt the Shan family owes the Lu family has been settled. I want to retrieve the set of jewelry my mother left at the Lu family's old residence. It belongs to the Shan family. Lu Xiu nodded coldly. Fine. Man doesn't care for those old things anyway. Lin Man added softly. Yes, Shu has bought me so many new pieces that I can't even wear them all. I ignored her and continued. Second, add a clause to the divorce agreement. From now on, we will have no contact for the rest of our lives. Whether I, Shinkingo, live in prosperity or die in the wilderness, it has nothing to do with the Lu family. President Lu is also not allowed to interfere in my life under any pretext. Lu Shu curled his lips into a mocking smile as if he had heard a joke. Don't worry, as long as you disappear from my sight. I would never stoop so low as to seek out a discarded woman. Third, I took out a stack of yellowed envelopes from my bag. These were secretly given to me by Grandma Lu on her deathbed. Inside were some undisclosed accounting evidence and overseas equity agreements from the early days of the Lu Group's founding. These are my guarantee for walking out of this door safely today. As for the 30 million deficit, if Mr. Lu wants to cover it up for the one he loves, he can do it himself. If you dare to force me into prison, these documents will appear on the investigation team's desk within an hour. Lu Shu's expression suddenly changed. It was the first time I had seen such a murderous, sinister look on his face in front of me. Are you threatening me? He reached out and grabbed my wrist with such force that it felt like he was about to crush my bones. It's a transaction, I said, enduring the intense pain and smiling at him. Mr. Lu's situation benefits no one. I've signed the divorce agreement, left with nothing, and given Lin Man her rightful place. If you get greedy again, we'll both go to hell together. At that moment, the air in the interrogation room seemed to freeze. Lu Shu stared at me intently, as if trying to find a flaw in this face that had been obedient for 4 years. But all he saw was an indifference as cold as ashes. After a long while, he released his grip, wiping his fingers with a handkerchief as if discarding something filthy. Get out, he spat out coldly. Shinkingo, take your schemes and greed and get out of Haichin. If I ever see you again, I'll make you understand what true living hell is. I straightened the sleeve. He had wrinkled, stood up, and moved with grace and composure. Don't trouble yourself. Mr. Lu, I will never see you again in this lifetime. I turned and walked toward the door. Lin Man, standing behind him, flashed a smug, sinister smile. She lowered her voice and whispered in my ear. Xingqiu, so what if you won? The position of Mrs. Lu is mine now. And you're destined to die like a stray dog, sick and alone out there. I stopped in my tracks and turned my head to look at her. My gaze was so cold that Lin Man couldn't help but shiver. Lin Man, what you gain through lies will eventually have to be repaid. I leaned closer to her, my voice as cold as a winter cicada when I come back to collect the interest. I hope you'll still be able to smile. You Lin Man's face turned pale. I pushed the door open and stepped outside. It was the most bustling afternoon in Haiyan. The sunlight, so glaring it nearly brought tears to my eyes. I took a deep breath. It was the long-lost scent of freedom, though tinged with bitterness. The Shin family had already gone bankrupt. My parents passed away long ago, and my brother was overseas with no news to be heard. Lu Shu thought I had nowhere to go once I walked out that door, but he forgot before becoming Mrs. Lu. Shin Cho was the youngest actuarial genius at Haichen University, the behind-the-scenes mastermind who once helped him secure billions in profits in the capital market. I touched my stomach and slipped into a black car that had been waiting at the street corner. Ching Cho, are you crazy? You actually left with nothing. My best friend, Sut Xiao, sitting in the driver's seat, angrily slammed the steering wheel. That's hundreds of billions in assets. Are you just letting that scumbag and that homewrecker have it all? Things that don't belong to me are too hot to handle. I pulled a copy from my bag. The last card Grandma Lu had left me. An encrypted trust account in the Cayman Islands. Inside was the dividend Grandma had secretly given me over the past 4 years while I worked as an actuarial consultant for the Lu family. Not much, just 300 million. This money is enough for me to start a new life under a different identity and to prepare a future meeting gift for my darlings. I leaned back in the chair, watching the Lu group building grow smaller and smaller in the rear view mirror. The last trace of warmth in my eyes completely extinguished. Chao Xiao, help me with something. I want to disappear completely and utterly. Such was taken aback for a moment. How do you plan to do it? Stage a scene. Make Lu Shu believe that Xin Cho, in despair over this betrayal, has sunk into the depths of the sea. I gazed at the rapidly receding street scenes outside the window, my tone eerily calm. From now on, there will be no more submissive mission in this world. Only the S that will make Lu Shu tremble for the rest of his life. Lu Shu, the prison and divorce you gave me. I accept them for the next round. I'll take the dealer's seat. Boom! A violent clap of thunder seemed to split the night sky over Haicheng. Rain poured down in torrents, and a fierce wind, carrying the salty tang of the sea, lashed wildly against the railings of the cross-seed. Watching the several black SUVs relentlessly pursuing us in the rear-view mirror, they were Lin Man's people. That woman was even more impatient than I had imagined. The moment Lu Shu let me go, she was already after my life, determined to secure her position as Mrs. Lu once and for all. Ching Cho, they're catching up. Are these maniacs trying to ram us to death? Su Xiao gripped the steering wheel tightly, her voice trembling. I glanced back. Those cars showed no intention of slowing down, swerving left and right on the slippery bridge surface, trying to force us into a corner. I calmly looked at the dashboard, then at the cliff-like coastline ahead at the turn. Chow chow! Stick to the plan. At the curve ahead, get ready to jump. I unbuckled my seatbelt, my palms drenched in sweat. But I knew this was my only way out. But you still have a child in your belly. Such eyes re-ened with urgency. There's no time to hesitate. I stared at the lights closing in from behind, my gaze icy. Lu Shu thinks I'm a discarded wife. Lin Man sees me as a lamb to the slaughter. Today, I'll make the name Xin Cho vanish completely from their script. At the moment, the vehicle behind us violently collided with our rear. Such Chow sharply turned the steering wheel, and the car skidded sideways with a piercing screech of friction, taking advantage of the dense bushes and the cover of the heavy rain. Su Xiao and I quickly rolled down into the prearranged grassy slope, and that empty car, driven by inertia and impact, crashed straight through the bridge's guardrail like a black bird with broken wings, instantly plunging into the raging waves dozens of meters below. Bang! The distant flash of firelight flickered briefly in the torrential rain before being swallowed by endless darkness. The pursuing car stopped by the broken guardrail. Several figures in black got out, observed for a moment, took photos, and then hurriedly withdrew. I lay in the cold grass, mud soaking through my outer clothes, a faint, throbbing pain coming from my abdomen. I clenched my teeth tightly, not letting a single sound escape. Only when the sound of the engines faded into the curtain of rain did I finally unclench my fist. My nails had already left deep, bloody marks in my palm. Qingqiu, are you okay? Such Xiao scrambled over to help me up. Let's go. I pushed myself up from the ground, wiped the rain from my face, and looked toward the distant sea. From this moment on, Qingqiu is dead. 3 days later, Hai Qing at the top floor office of the Lu Group. The atmosphere was so tense it felt suffocating. Lu Shu was staring at a photograph on the table. It was a piece of burnt fabric found by the search and rescue team at the seaside, with the jade pendant passed down through the Shan family still hanging from it. Miss Shen's car plunged into the sea. Due to the heavy waves that night, the entire vehicle was swept into the deep sea trench. The police said the chances of survival are 0. Lawyer Zhang Qing stood nearby, his back bent low, his forehead covered in cold sweat. Lu Shu sat in the leather swivel chair, a half-SM smoked cigarette held between his fingertips. He didn't take a drag, letting the ash fall onto his expensive suit pants. Dead, he repeated softly, his voice as cool and detached as ever, yet carrying a barely perceptible hoarseness. Yes, a large amount of blood was found at the scene. Miss Lin Man was extremely distraught upon hearing the news and has fainted from crying several times, saying she shouldn't have let Miss Shin leave so late. Lu Xiao suddenly looked up, his eyes like a cold, deep pool, instantly silencing Jonkin. Why should she be so upset? Lu Xiao curled his lips in a self-mocking smile, though a flicker of inexplicable irritation flashed in his eyes. He remembered the resolute look in Xingqiu's eyes that day in the meeting room when she signed the divorce papers. She had said she would never see him again in this lifetime. She actually kept her promise in this way. This feeling of being out of control made Lu Shu feel an unprecedented sense of oppression. He had thought she would come back crying, begging him, reduced to utter destitution, and then he would show her a little pity. But she had simply jumped into the sea. Mr. Lu about Miss Lin. Get out. Lu Shu coldly interrupted, turning around to gaze at the bustling night view of Haichang outside the floor, toe-ceiling window. For some reason, the woman who had always been gentle, obedient, and kept a light on for him late into the night now seemed both hazy and glaring in his memory. A part of his heart felt inexplicably hollow, but he stubbornly believed it was only because a useful tool had broken. Meanwhile, in southern Europe, thousands of miles away, in a tranquil countryside estate filled with blooming lavender, I cut off my waist-length hair and changed into a loose linen dress. The air here is clean and fresh, free from the deceit and intrigue of Haichin, and without Lu Shu's suffocating coldness. Qingqiu, here are your newly processed passport and ID card. Such Xiao handed over a document, her expression complex. From today, your name is Anna, under the operation of that offshore trust fund. Your current identity is a newly rising actuarial consultant in the global financial world. No one will connect a woman abandoned at sea with investment banking genius, known by the codice. I took the documents, my fingertips gently brushing over the photo. The woman in the picture had sharp, clear eyes with none of the weakness she once had as Mrs. Lu. Not enough. I set the documents down and walked over to the desk where 3 high-performance monitors displayed dense financial curves and the latest overseas financial reports of the Lu Group. Over these 4 years, although I have been living in the Lu family, I have never truly stopped analyzing the world of capital. The Lu Group may appear vast, but due to Lu Shu's aggressive expansion over the past 2 years, subtle cracks have begun to appear in its internal capital chain. Especially to please Lin Man, he handed over several core financial warehousing projects to her Goodfur brother to manage. Lu Shu, aren't you the one who values the glory of the Lu Group the most? I stared at the constantly flashing red dots on the screen, a cruel smile curling at the corner of my lips. Then I'll start with the very thing you take the most pride in, dismantling it piece by piece with my own hands. Qingqiu, you can't overexert yourself in your current condition. Such Xiao looked at my swollen belly with concern. You're carrying twins. And the doctor said, you need to rest. I gently stroked my belly and whispered, my darlings, Mommy isn't seeking revenge. She's reclaiming what rightfully belongs to us. Over the next 6 months, I entered an intensely efficient state of preparation for battle. During the day, I would stroll through the estate, arrange flowers, and study parenting knowledge. At night, I transformed into the ghost of the capital market, silently infiltrating the list of overseas partners of the Lu Group through complex leverage operations and offshore accounts. Using my actor's intuition, I predicted the investment blind spots in the Lu Group's Nordic Wind energy project and set up a short-selling trap in advance. I will not only survive, but I will also return to the world that once humiliated me with the absolute demeanor of a king. The day of the delivery happened to be New Year's Eve in Haicheng outside the window. Fine snowflakes were falling while I lay in the delivery room of a private hospital. My pillow soaked with sweat. Breathe and push. The doctor's voice echoed in my ears. A tearing, excruciating pain assaulted my nerves. I gripped the edge of the delivery bed tightly, my mind filled with the cold face Lucy wore when he handed me the divorce papers that day and the malicious words Lin Man whispered in my ear. Stray dog. At that moment, the pain transformed into boundless strength. A clear, sharp cry shattered the tension in the room. Then a second one followed. Congratulations, Ms. Anna. It's a pair of handsome boys. The nurse excitedly brought the two wrinkled, yet lively little lives before me. I looked at them weakly, the ice in my heart melting completely in that moment. The older one looks like me with a calm and composed air between his brows. The younger one's features, however, faintly carry the shadow of that man, especially those distinctive phoenix eyes, exuding an innate nobility. Qingqiu, give the children names, Su Xiao said beside me, wiping away tears. I gazed at the gradually brightening dawn outside the window and said, word by word, the eldest is named Shin Mo, the Mo from ink. I want him to have a mind as vast as mountains and valleys, and to remain as steady as ink when facing challenges. What about the second child? The second is named Xinyang. I paused, my gaze hardening like steel once more. A word once spoken must be followed by action. I want all those who have wronged us to one day in the future beg for mercy with their own words. I held the two children, tightly feeling their warm body heat. Luciu, while you and your moonlight are preparing for the wedding and enjoying the splendor of a wealthy family, you probably never imagined that, on the other side of the world, two geniuses with your blood are being forged into the sharpest blades in my hands. For years of undercover work, for years of rebuilding, Xinqing's coffin lid, you nailed it shut too early. When the tides of this world surge once more, I will take these two children and personally bury your entire empire. I close my eyes, feeling the power gradually awakening within me. Next time we meet, I'll make you kneel and ask me why I came back. For years later, Chunhongqiao Airport, I stride in 10 centimeters stiletto heels, wearing a sharply tailored, cold gray suit dress. Sunglasses cover most of my face, revealing only a tight, cold, and breathtakingly beautiful jawline. Behind me, two black-clad bodyguards push streamlined suitcases in perfect sync. Mommy, the air humidity in Haijian is 65%, a bit more humid and hot than Zurich. A small, milky voice with a hint of steadiness came from beside me. Eldest Bao Mo was pushing a small silver suitcase, wearing specially made blue light blocking glasses on the bridge of his nose, while his fingers swiftly swiped through data on a tablet. Beside him, little Bao Xinyang, dressed in overalls and looking as delicate as a porcelain doll, flashed a professional puppy dog smile at the crowd waiting at the arrival's gate. causing passing girls to cover their faces and gasp in delight. Mommy, that uncle is staring at your legs. Should I hack his phone and pop up a reminder to be polite? Shinyang blinked big eyes, his tone innocent, but his words were incredibly devious. Sweetie, keep a low profile. I curved my red lips into a slight smile, adjusted my sunglasses, and concealed the frosty glint in my eyes. Returning to the old place, those once oppressive and deparing memories did not come crashing down like a tidal wave. Instead, they felt like a distant dream from another lifetime, no longer able to stir even the slightest ripple in my heart. Xinqing is dead. Standing here now is S, the executive partner of the world's top venture capital firm, Dragon Capital, known on Wall Street as the Queen of Actes. The Bentley sent to pick me up had been waiting for quite some time. Miss Anna, welcome back to the country, said my chief secretary, Xiaolu, a financial genius I personally supported from the slums as he respectfully opened the car door. The financing meeting for the Blue Ocean project at the Lu Group will begin at the Peninsula Hotel in half an hour. As per your instructions, our funds are fully in place, ready to harvest at any moment. I settled into the car, elegantly crossing my legs. Lu Shu's expression right now must be quite unpleasant, I imagine. Indeed, Xiaolu replied, handing over a real-time briefing. The Lu Group was confident they had this in the bag. They even pre-released a statement claiming this project would mark their entry into the chip industry. But he never could have guessed that his three biggest potential investors secretly signed equity, holding agreements with us last night. I closed my eyes, savoring the smooth, steady motion of the luxury car. Lu Shu, back then, you forced me into prison and pushed for divorce over Lin Man's $30 million deficit. Now I'll make sure your $300 billion blue ocean dries up completely. At the Peninsula Hotel in the top floor banquet hall, here, gathered the most prominent figures in High-C. Lu Shu sat in the central seat of honor, for years seeming to have settled a deeper, more profound ferocity upon him, his coldly handsome face appearing increasingly inscrutable. Lin Man sat beside him wearing a white gauze dress studded with diamond chips, a large pink diamond necklace around her neck, exuding the air of the lady of the Lu family. Although, due to certain insistences of Lu Shu, they had never officially registered their marriage in these 4 years. The outside world had long since tacitly acknowledged her status. Shu, once the Blue Sea project succeeds, can we finally hold our engagement banquet? Lin Man kiddishly wrapped her arm around Lu Shu's. Lu Shu's body stiffened slightly. He subtly withdrew his arm, straightened his cuff, and replied coldly, "Well, see about the results." At that moment, the door was pushed open. The once noisy venue instantly fell, so quiet you could hear a pin drop with little Lu in tow. I walked slowly into the venue under everyone's gaze. Instead of heading to the back row, I went straight to the front and took a seat next to Mr. Ju, the competitor of the Lu Group. The moment Lu Shu saw me, his pupils contracted sharply. The pen he had been toying with between his fingers snapped cleanly in two. He stared fixedly at my face, a face almost identical to Shinqingo's, yet with a completely different aura. Shinqingo was gentle and serene like water, while the woman before him was thorny ice, a burning ember. Lu Shu's voice actually carried a trace of trembling as he abruptly stood up. Yet, I acted as if I hadn't seen him at all, turning to Mr. Ju with an elegant smile. "Mr. J, Lungu Capital has decided to increase its investment by $2 billion to support your company's new core initiative. As for certain blue oceans that have already shown financial deficits, I think everyone knows what's going on." As soon as these words were spoken, the entire room erupted in an uproar. Is this Mr. S from Lungu Capital? Oh my God, she looks so much like the ex-wife of the Lu family. But this aura is simply the arrival of a queen. Lin Man's face instantly turned deathly pale. She gritted her teeth tightly, her nails digging into her palms. Impossible. That Xingqiu has already fallen into the sea and been fed to the fish. Who are you? Who on earth are you? I turned my head, my eyes behind the sunglasses, sweeping coldly over Linman, Mississippi, making a loud commotion in public. Is this the etiquette of the Liu family? I sneered, then turned my gaze to Lu Shu. Lu Shu's deep eyes churned with turbulent emotions as he strode over to me, so close I could smell the familiar scent of wood on him. Xinqing Cho, you're not dead, he ground out through clenched teeth, his large hand reaching to grab my shoulder. Xiaolu swiftly stepped in front of me, his voice icy. Mr. Liu, please show some restraint. This is Ms. Anna, the president of Dragon Capital's Greater China region. If you wish to reminisce, please schedule an appointment through formal business channels. Lu Shu's hand froze midair. He stared at me, his eyes bloodshot. Anna, you're telling me you're Anna. Mr. Liu, it's a pleasure to meet you. I extended my hand clad in lace gloves, giving it a slight wave in front of him before quickly withdrawing it. My tone was distant, yet polite. I've heard that Liu Corporation has been struggling with cash flow lately, and even the core algorithm for the Blue Ocean project was plagiarized. As a fellow professional, I advise you to cut your losses early. Otherwise, next time I won't be here to support your competitor. I'll be here to acquire what's left of you. You're dreaming, Lin Man shrieked. Shoo, she's doing this on purpose. She must have come back for revenge. I didn't even acknowledge her, and simply turned to leave just as I was about to reach the door. Two small figures came running out from the lounge next to us. Mommy, Uncle Ju said he's taking us for a seafood feast later. Xinyang dashed over on his little legs and threw himself into my arms. Shinmo adjusted his glasses, giving a cold glance to Lu Shu, who stood there dumbfounded. The disdain and scrutiny in his eyes were exactly the same as when Louis lost his temper. Mommy, this uncle has been staring at you. Data analysis shows his heart rate is too fast, possibly indicating a heart attack. Should we call an ambulance for him? Dao's clear voice echoed through the room. Lu Shu's gaze fell on the faces of the two children, and he felt as if struck by lightning. Those two faces, those familiar contours, those genetic traits almost etched into his bones. Children. Lu Shu's voice trembled uncontrollably. He took a step forward, looking at me almost pleadingly. Shinkingo, whose children are these? I picked up Xinyang, holding Shinmo's hand with the other, and glanced back with a smile as bright as peach blossoms, yet as venomous as arsenic. President Liu is overthinking. My children, of course, bear the surname Shin. As for who their father is, in any case, it certainly isn't a cold-blooded creature who personally sent his wife to prison. After saying that, I left without looking back. Behind me came Lin Man's uncontrollable roar and Lu Shu's heavy, broken cry of Qingqiu. At that moment, I knew that this cat and mouse game called revenge had just begun its most thrilling act. The top-floor office of the Lu Group now felt like a volcano on the verge of eruption. Lu Xiu stared intently at the surveillance footage on his computer screen. In the video, two boys dressed in identical British-style blazers were swaggering through the biometric security gate on the first floor of the Lu Group building, a gate famously known as impenetrable even to a fly. Mr. Liu, the security system has completely crashed. The head of the technical department stammered, wiping cold sweat from his brow. The other side used an extremely sophisticated logic bomb to turn our firewall into what? Lu Xiu turned his head, his eyes bloodshot, into a scrolling marquee that says, "No scumbags allowed." Now every display screen in the entire group lobby is showing it. Lu Shu slammed his fist down on the table. The child named Shinmo with that chillingly calm little face lingered in his mind, refusing to fade. So alike, too alike, it wasn't just the appearance. Even that cold, calculating demeanor seemed carved from the very same mold as his own. Meanwhile, at the most exclusive private mall under the Lu Group in the children's high-tech experience zone, I was sitting in the nearby cafe. elegantly flipping through the latest financial report. Not far from me, in the lounge area, Xinyang was holding a bucket of popcorn, smiling as she watched the man across from her, whose face had turned ashen, an uninvited guest. Uncle, following us is legally considered an invasion of privacy. You know. Xinyang tilted her head, her big eyes sparkling with mischief. If you're looking to get my mom's autograph, you'll have to get in line. There are still 3 multinational CEOs ahead of you. Lu Shu half crouched down, meeting the gaze of the child named Xinyang. This child was livelier than Shinmo, but the upward slant of his phoenix eyes was strikingly similar to his own. Who is your father? Lu Zai's voice was hoarse, carrying a hint of humility and probing that even he himself hadn't noticed. Xinyang grabbed a popcorn and tossed it into his mouth, mumbling in reply, "My dad." Mommy said he turned into a butterfly and flew away long ago. Uncle, are you going to visit him at the cemetery? I can show you the way, but the referral fee is quite expensive. Xinyang, stop fooling around. Shen, Mo carrying a backpack, walked over with steady small steps, holding a tablet in his hand. He looked coldly at Lu Shu. Mr. Lu, according to the spending records I just hacked from your personal account, you bought a set of jewelry worth 5 million for that MS Lin man last week. Since you have money to support a mistress, why don't you have the funds to pay the core patent fees for your Blue Sea project? Infringement can land you in jail. Lu Shu's pupils constricted sharply. You hacked into my private account. He, the esteemed head of the Lu family, was actually being manipulated by a child under 5 years old. President Lu, what a pleasant surprise. I set down my coffee cup, walked over with crisp steps, and reached out to shield the 2 children behind me, looking down at Lu Shu, who was crouched on the ground. My eyes were filled with mockery. What's the matter? President Lu, instead of spending time with your fiancé, you come to the mall to harass my children. Our corporation's stocks not falling fast enough, leaving you with too much free time. Lu Shu stood up, and with the difference in height, he regained that sense of intimidation. But in front of me, this aura had long since lost its effect. Shinkingo, how old are these 2 children exactly? He took a step closer, his voice squeezed through gritted teeth. When you left 4 years ago, were you already pregnant? For years ago, Mrs. Lu had already died at sea. I coldly interrupted him. The Anur of today has never been married. As for the children, I borrowed a seed from a blonde, blue-eyed gentleman in Switzerland. Look at Dao's features. Don't they have an exotic charm? I deliberately told this outrageous lie, watching Lu Shu's face turn from pale to red, then from red to pale again. The feeling of slowly torturing his pride was even more satisfying than killing him outright. You're lying, Lu Shu, you roared, drawing the attention of nearby customers. They look exactly like me. There are plenty of people in this world who look alike. I sneered. If you're suffering from delusions, Mr. Lu, I suggest you make an appointment at the psychiatry department across the street. Mo Xiaoyang. Let's go. Stop right there. Just then, a sharp female voice cut through the standoff. Lin Man, dressed in a fiery red gown, stormed over in a fit of rage. She had just seen Lu Shu absent-mindedly following these 2 bastards in the jewelry store, and jealousy had nearly driven her mad. Shu, don't be fooled by this bitch. Lin Man pointed at my nose, her features contorted. These 2 bastards must have been born from your ex-wife's affair with some other man. She brought them back just to swindle your money. Xinqing Cho, have you no shame? Slap. A resounding slap. It wasn't me who did it. Xinyang, holding a half-finished milk tea in her hand, accurately poured it onto Lin Man's expensive red dress, while Xin, with an expressionless face, stuck out her little foot and tripped Lin Man as she lunged forward. Lin Man, like a clumsy hen, fell directly by the edge of the mall's artificial fountain. Oh dear, this auntie looks just like the screaming chicken we used to have at home. Xinyang clapped her little hands, laughing with innocent delight. You bunch of bastards. Lin Man, drenched and disheveled, pointed at the children and cursed. Lucius' face instantly darkened like the bottom of a pot, although he was still uncertain about the child's origins. Seeing a child who looked so much like him being insulted triggered an instinctive protectiveness, making him feel a trace of disgust toward Lin Man that he had never experienced before. Lin Man, shut up. Lu Shu snapped coldly. Shu, you actually yelled at me for these two bastards. Lin Man shrieked in disbelief. I watched this fast coldly, walked up to Lin Man, bent down, and said in a voice only the two of us could hear, Lin Man publicly insulting a minor. I can sue you until you're bankrupt. Also, the fake surgery records you forged 4 years ago. I already have the originals. Guess what expression Lu Shu will have when he finds out that the life-saving benefactor he's been doting on for 4 years is actually the one who nearly killed him. Lin Man's pupils instantly dilated, terror flooding over her like a tide. You, how could you? I came back to strip you of your disguise. Bit by bit, I straightened up and didn't spare her another glance. I turned to look at Lu Shu, my tone icy cold. Mr. Lu, keep your woman in check. If she dares to appear in front of my child again, I won't just snatch the Blue Sea project from you. I'll make every single project of the Lu Group turn into a Dead Sea. After saying that, I strode away with Shin Mo and Shin Yang. Behind me, Lu Shu seemed nailed to the spot. He stared at my resolute back, then glanced at the disheveled Lin Man. The towering edifice named trust in his heart finally let out the first deafening roar of collapse. Mr. Lu, the DNA test sample has been obtained. Jiang Kang emerged from somewhere, clutching a strand of hair he had snatched from Shin's clothes during the chaos and tremblingly handed it to Lu Xiu. Lu Shu tightly clutched the fine strand of hair, a storm of utter devastation churning in his eyes. Shinkingo, if you really deceived me, if you really took my flesh and blood, then even if it means going to hell, I will drag you down with me. But he didn't know that at that moment, Shin was sneering at a red on her tablet. Mommy, the fish has taken the bait. The strand of hair he took was just a random one I picked up from the floor of the mall's barbershop. Tomorrow's DNA report will surely surprise him, so much he'll want to kill himself. I stroked my son's head, a cruel curve lifting the corner of my mouth. The first step of revenge is to destroy his perception. The Lu family's charity gala has always been a benchmark in Heising's high society. In the brilliantly lit banquet hall, the giant crystal chandelier cast scattered golden rays over the elegantly dressed crowd who mingled and clinked glasses. Lin Man was dressed especially flamboyantly tonight. She wore a strapless, floor-length gown custom made by a top designer worth 7 figures. Her right arm linked with Lu Shu while her left leg was faintly visible as she walked. That was her most prized medal 4 years ago. She had publicly claimed that to save Lu Shu from a car accident. Her left leg suffered a penetrating injury, leaving her with severe after effects, even occasionally having to rely on a wheelchair. This was also the reason why over the past 4 years, Lu Shu had never truly pushed her away, no matter how cold and distant he became. Shu, I want to bid on the Eternal Star necklace at tonight's auction and donate it to the Disabled Children's Foundation. Lin Man said in a delicate, fragile voice, though her eyes held a provocative challenge as she glanced toward the entrance. Lucas' expression remained indifferent, his gaze wandering restlessly around the room, clearly distracted. In his hand, he clutched a DNA test report that had just been issued this morning. The results showed that the hair sample had no biological relation to him. He refused to believe it. That instinctive sense of blood connection could not be wrong at that moment. The banquet hall doors slowly opened once again. I was wearing a shimmering black kyongam. My long hair loosely tied up with a mutton-fat jade hairpin without excessive jewelry. Only 2 large black pearls on my earlobes were enough to silence all the noise in the room. I didn't bring the child with only Xiaolu following briskly behind me. Miss Anna has arrived. A murmur broke out among the crowd. Lu Shu's gaze fixed on me, that almost predatory scrutiny as if trying to see through my soul beneath the chiong. I picked up a glass of champagne and swayed gracefully to the center of the venue, directly facing Lu Shu and Lin Man, Mr. Lu, Miss Lin. Long time no see. I smiled with an air of nonchalant, but my eyes were like a cold scalpel, slicing back and forth over Lin Man. What are you doing here? Uninvited guests like you aren't welcome. Lin Man's voice rose uncontrollably out of guilt, drawing the attention of the surrounding guests. Uninvited. I raised an eyebrow and took an exquisite document from Xiaolu. I was invited by the host to contribute to the charity cause. And by the way, I have a big gift for Miss Lin. The auction quickly began in order to outshine me. Lin Man frantically raised her paddle, driving the price of the necklace, which had a base price of 5 million up to 20 million. 20 million once, 20 million twice. The auctioneer's voice trembled. 30 million. I raised my paddle unhurriedly, my voice soft yet firm and resounding. Lin Man gritted her teeth and abruptly stood up. Shinkingo, are you deliberately opposing me? Shu, look at her. 50 million. Lu Shu suddenly spoke up. He wasn't looking at Lin Man, but was staring intently at me. There was madness in his eyes and also a hint of testing. As long as Miss likes it, the Lu group will pay to give it to you. The entire room erupted in an uproar. Lu Shu was actually willing to spend 50 million to buy a gift for his ex-wife. This was practically a public slap in the face to Lin Man. No need. Mr. Lu should keep his money for Miss Lin's leg treatment. I let out a cold laugh, set down my wine glass, and slowly walked up to the auction stage. I signaled to the auctioneer to pause, then turned to face the guests in the hall. A huge projection screen slowly descended behind me. Everyone, before the auction continues, I'd like to invite you all to watch a good show. It's a story about a life-saving hero and a grand lie. I pressed the remote control. What appeared on the screen was not jewelry, but a set of yellowed medical records. The image displayed was a high-definition reconstruction of the car accident scene from 4 years ago. Everyone knows that Miss Lin Man suffered severe disability in her left leg while saving Mr. Lu. But please take a look at this original assessment signed by experts from the Royal Swedish Hospital. I pointed to the red circle on the screen. Miss Lin's so-called penetrating injury was merely a superficial contusion during the initial examination upon admission. As for the disability certificate that allowed her to establish her position in the Lu family for 4 years, she bribed the attending physician at the time, injected herself with a nerve-blocking agent in the operating room, and artificially caused a secondary bone fracture. You're lying. Shut up. Lin Man rushed toward the stage like a mad woman, trying to turn off the projector. Lu Shu's originally stern face instantly turned as pale as paper upon seeing the screenshot of the hush money transfer bearing Lin Man's personal signature. Not finished yet. My gaze sharpened, my voice instantly rising. Not only did Miss Lin fabricate her injuries, she even forged the identity of the rescuer 4 years ago. The one who truly dragged Lu Shu out of the fire wasn't her at all. It was Shinqing Cho whom she had knocked out, stuffed into the trunk, and planned to burn to death. The scene shifts, and a blurry video recovered from a dash cam begins to play. In the footage, a woman covered in blood desperately drags the unconscious Lu Shu to safety, while another woman watches the scene with malicious intent from a distance. Before the police arrive, she pushes the rescuing woman down the hillside. The entire room fell into dead silence. Lucius staggered, knocking over the red wine rack behind him. The deep red liquid splattered all over the floor, eerily reminiscent of the blood from the car accident scene 4 years ago. Lin Man Lu Shu's voice trembled so much it was almost inaudible. He turned his head to look at Lin Man, who was slumped on the ground, desperately trying to cover her left leg. No, Shu, it's not like that. She photoshopped it. She came back to take revenge on me. Lin Man cried hysterically, her delicate makeup completely smeared. I stepped down from the stage, standing over her, and reached out to tear open the slit of her skirt. That so-called disabled leg was smooth as jade without a single scar, or even a trace of a bruise. This is the white moonlight that Mr. Liu has cherished for 4 years. I turned to look at Lu Shu, my eyes filled with the thrill of revenge. Lu Shu, you drove away the wife who saved your life with your own hands, yet you enshrined a venomous snake who wanted to kill you in your heart. How does that feel? Lucia looked at me, his eyes gradually reening. He wanted to explain, to apologize, to grab the hem of my clothes. But he found he didn't even have the strength to stand steady. Chinkyo, I'm sorry, he rasped, his usual cold and noble demeanor completely shattered. Don't call my name. It feels dirty to me. I turned my head away in disgust and whispered to Xiao behind me. Call the police. Lin Man is suspected of forging medical certificates, defrauding the Liu family of a huge amount of property, and attempted intentional murder 4 years ago. The sound of police sirens soon echoed outside the manor. Lin Man was taken away amidst the scornful jeers of the crowd as she passed by me. Her eyes were filled with malice, and Lu Shu, the once domineering CEO, now sat slumped in his chair, looking as if he had aged 10 years. Watching my retreating figure, he finally understood that my return this time was never about reconciling our marriage. I want him to bury his past with his own hands in endless regret. Stepping out of the banquet hall, the night breeze was slightly cool. Shinmo's message came through on my phone. Mommy Lin Man's secret account has been locked down by me. Not a single cent of the 3 billion she siphoned from the Liu family over the past 4 years will she be able to take away. I put away my phone, gazing at the bustling night view of Haicheng, and finally let out half of the resentment that had been building up inside me for 4 years. Lin Man, this is just the appetizer. Lu Shu, our accounts are just beginning to be settled. On the 3rd day after Lin Man was taken away, the rain in Haiyan never stopped. The public relations department of the Liu Group was overwhelmed. But the public opinion firewall personally reinforced by Shun Mo acted like an iron curtain, blocking all attempts to whitewash Lin Man. Meanwhile, I sat in my office in the tallest building in the city center, holding a cup of warm Blue Mountain coffee, gazing at the blurred city skyline outside the window. Mommy Lin Man has escaped. Shinmo jumped off the high stool, holding the tablet as he walked over to me, his brows slightly furrowed. Half an hour ago, she took advantage of a medical parole opportunity and bribed the ambulance driver. According to GPS tracking, she's heading toward the abandoned factory area in the western suburbs. I set down the coffee cup, my eyes showing no surprise, only a hint of anticipated coldness. She's not running away. She's trying to drag someone down with her. I turned my head and looked at Xinyang, who was sitting on the sofa playing with a Rubik's Cube. Yang, who called you just now. Xinyang stopped what she was doing, her usually soft and adorable face now tense as she pulled a voice changer from her pocket. It was a strange woman. She said, if we don't go to the factory to see her obediently, she'll send everyone the evidence that Mommy tricked someone into marriage 4 years ago. She said she has the original copy of Grandpa's last will. My heart jolted violently. Grandpa's will. That was something I had been searching for all along. And it was the key evidence of the Shan family's assets being illegally merged by the Liu family. Lin Man, that lunatic, has finally reached the end of her rope and is about to play her last card. Mommy, you can't go. It's a trap. Shan Mo tugged at the hem of my clothes, his eyes reflecting a rationality beyond his ears. I've already called the police and locked onto the signal in that area. No, I must go. I patted his head, my gaze resolute. If I don't go, she will never hand over that will. Besides, I want to see her utterly despair with my own eyes. Western suburbs, abandoned textile factory. The rusted iron gate creaked with a grating sound in the wind. The air was thick with the smell of mold and gasoline. I walked alone into the empty workshop. Lin Man stood on the second-floor corridor, her hair disheveled, clutching a black leather bag tightly in her hand with several gasoline barrels at her feet. Her leg, which had once feigned disability, now trembled slightly from the intense running, and her once delicate features appeared twisted and terrifying under the dim light. Shinkingo, you actually came, Lin Man shrieked, her voice echoing through the empty hall. Do you think you've won? Do you think exposing me will get you everything back? Dream on. If I can't have it, neither will you. Where is the will? I stopped in my tracks, looking up at her coldly. You want the will? Kneel. Lin Man suddenly pulled a lighter from her bag, threatening to throw it toward the gasoline barrels. Kneel and beg me just as humbly as I begged you to give Lu Shu to me 4 years ago. I remained motionless, a mocking smile curling at the corner of my lips. Lin Man, haven't you realized the situation yet as you are now? You don't even have the right to negotiate with me. Shut up. You're the one who ruined me. If it weren't for you, I'd already be Mrs. Lu by now. She frantically waved the lighter. That fool Lu Shu. He must be regretting it to death right now. He's searching for you like a madman, begging for your forgiveness. Shinkingo, I won't let you have your way. I'll make sure you both live in agony for the rest of your lives. Just then, a sharp screech of brakes echoed from outside the factory door. Lucia rushed in. He had clearly just hurried over from the office, his white shirt soaked through by the rain, his hair disheveled and plastered to his forehead. When he saw the scene before him, he froze in place. Lin Man put the fire down. Lu Shu's voice trembled, his gaze shifting back and forth between me and Lin Man Shu. You finally came. Lin Man let out a bitter laugh, tears streaking through the grime on her face. Look, this is the woman you once loved. She wants to send me to prison. She even wants to take everything from me. Lu Shu ignored her, sobbing. He looked at me, his eyes filled with pain and pleading. Qingqiu, you should leave first. It's dangerous here. Lin Man, I'll give you whatever you want. Money, status, even send you abroad. Just don't hurt her. Lin Man froze for a moment, then burst into wild laughter. Ha! Lu Shu, you're still protecting her. Do you know that the 2 children you've been searching for over the past 4 years aren't some foreigner's offspring at all? They're your own flesh and blood. That Shinkingo has been playing you for 4 whole years. Lu Shu was as if struck by lightning, abruptly turning to look at me, his eyes filled with an incredible tremor. I looked coldly at Lin Man and finally spoke. Lin Man, do you think this is your final trump card? I clapped my hands suddenly. The broadcast speaker at the top of the factory transmitted Shinmo's calm voice. Ms. Lin, don't waste your effort. The so-called will in your hands is actually a forgery that I modified via the cloud and sent to your printer half an hour ago. The real will has already taken effect in the safe deposit box of Zurich Bank 3 years ago. The Shin family's assets have now all been transferred to my mother's name. Lin Man's face instantly turned deathly pale. In a panic, she opened her purse and frantically searched for those few sheets of paper. And one more thing. Shinmo's voice continued, tinged with a hint of disdain. The gasoline drum at your feet actually contains dyed tap water. The thugs you hired earlier are now sitting in a police van eating box lunches. By the way, let me remind you President Lu's phone is currently on a global live stream. Every word you just admitted to murder, extortion, and fabricating evidence has been heard by the entire world. Lin Man completely broke down. The lighter in her hand fell into a puddle, letting out a faint asterisk. Asterisk. No, impossible. This can't be. She collapsed onto the ground, watching as police officers gradually appeared beyond the second-floor railing. Her eyes growing hollow, I turned around and met Lu Shu's eyes, which were filled with regret, shock, and longing. He rushed over in long strides, trying to grab my hand. Qingqiu, the children. Is it true? They are my children, right? I coldly avoided his touch, took another document from my bag, and flung it at his chest. That's a copy of the divorce agreement you personally signed back then. Lu, take a good look. It says no contact in life or death. As for the children, they do carry your blood, but legally speaking, they have only a mother, no father. Chinchio, I was wrong. I truly didn't know. Lucio actually bent his knees slightly in front of everyone, as if he were about to kneel before me the next second. Your mistake isn't because you didn't know, but because you never trusted me. I took a step back, and just at that moment, an elegant man in a dark blue cashmere coat walked into the factory holding an umbrella. Professor Jiao Yunshin, the godfather of Shen Mo and Xinyang, and also my most trusted partner overseas. He naturally walked to my side, tilting the umbrella toward me, his voice gentle as water. Anna, the children are getting impatient, waiting in the car. Let's go. Lu Shu stared at Jiao Yun's hand resting on my shoulder, the possessiveness and jealousy in his eyes almost burning him up from within. Who is he? Lu Shu asked through gritted teeth. Who he is doesn't matter, I said, linking my arm with Jiao Yun's and turning my head to give him a genuine smile, one I had never given Lu Shu. What matters is that he has given me and our child the respect and stability you never did. I turned and walked away with Jiao Yunin. Behind her, the sound of Lin Man being handcuffed and taken away by the police, intertwined with Lu Shu's heart-wrenching cries, became the most captivating background music of that long, rainy night. Lu Shu, the despair you once gave me, I will now make you repay inch by inch upon these ruins. This is just the beginning of reverse hunting. The rain in Haiqing fell even harder, as if washing away the filth that had accumulated in the entire city over 4 years. Outside the Shinf family manor, a black Maybach had been parked all night long. The windshield wipers swung mechanically, unable to clear the heavy gloom in Lu Shu's eyes. He pushed open the car door, his leather shoes stepping onto the waterlogged asphalt road, splashing circles of murky ripples. The once dashing and arrogant president of the Lu Group now had a wrinkled shirt, a stubbled chin, and an air of desolate defeat about him. Qingqiu, I know you're in there. He stood before the ornate, wrought iron gate, his voice end fragmented by the sound of the rain. Let me see the child just for a moment. Please, behind the floor, toe-ceiling window on the second-floor balcony. I held a cup of hot cocoa, quietly watching the tiny black dot below. Mommy, his body temperature is dropping, according to the thermal imaging. He might be catching a cold. Shinmo appeared behind me at some point, holding a tablet, his tone as if evaluating an insignificant test subject. Do you need me to hack his car's air conditioning and cool him down a bit more? No need. Momo, I took a light sip of my hot cocoa, my gaze icy. Let him stand. Some people only remember how cruel they were when they tore down the house that once sheltered them from the wind and rain, just as they're about to freeze to death. Mommy Godfather Jiao is here. Xinyang, dressed in dinosaur pajamas, bounced over, pointing at the white car slowly driving in from the other end of the estate. That was Jiao Yunin. I sat down my cup, changed into a goose yellow loungewear, and personally went downstairs to greet him. The door slowly opened, and Lu Shu seemed to have grasped a lifeline, taking a sudden step forward. Qingqiu, however, it wasn't me who greeted him, but Jiao Yunin's gentle, jade-like smile. Jiao Yunin held a large black umbrella, walking gracefully to my side, naturally wrapping his arm around my shoulder and pulling me closer to him, shielding me from the rain that drifted in with the wind. Mr. Lu, what brings you here so early? Jiao Yunin's voice was not loud, yet it carried the composure and authority of someone in a position of power. Anna stayed up late last night dealing with the mess left by the Lu family and needs to rest now. Lu Shu's gaze was fixed on the hand Jiao Yunin had placed on my shoulder, the bloodshot veins in his eyes almost on the verge of bursting. Let her go. Louis ground out the words through clenched teeth, his voice squeezed from the depths of his throat. Gu Yunin, don't think that just because you have status in the medical field, You can lay a finger on my woman. Your woman. I couldn't help but let out a light laugh, stepping half a pace out from under Ju Yin's umbrella, through the cold curtain of rain. I looked at Lu Shu. Mr. Lu, is your memory not so good? For years ago, it was you who personally handed me the divorce papers and told me to get out of Haichin. Now, I am a partner at Lungu Capital, the head of the Shan family, but I am certainly not your woman. Qingqiu, I know I was wrong. Lu Shu suddenly lunged forward, his knees crashing heavily onto the cold, damp floor tiles with a resounding thud that sent shivers down the spine. He knelt there, his once proud spine now bent, rain continuously dripping from the tip of his nose. About Lin Man. I was blind. I was foolish. I'll pay back the 30 million, double it, and I can even give you shares in Lu Corporation. Please don't take the child and leave with this man, he pleaded humbly, even reaching out to grab the hem of my skirt. I stepped back in disgust, as if avoiding some filthy plague. Lu Shu, do you think I need your shares? I looked down at him coldly. What you call compensation is nothing but charity in my eyes. Do you think kneeling here makes you sincere? For years ago, when I begged you to believe me in the interrogation room, you didn't even spare me a glance. Back then, I was kneeling, too. My heart was kneeling. But what about you? I pointed at the pitch-black sky. You're busy buying a diamond ring for your Lin Man. Busy plotting how to make me, the murderer, disappear. This kind of act now, aside from making me feel disgusted, has no meaning at all. No, it's not like that. I love you, Luciu stammered incoherently, trying to explain, only to find that all his explanations seemed so feeble in the face of reality. Yun Xin, let's go inside. I no longer looked at him, turning instead to take Ju Yun's arm. Shinkingo Lu Shu roared from behind. Those two children, they need a father. You can't deprive them of their right to be recognized by their ancestors. I stopped in my tracks, turned my head slightly, and revealed a cruel smile. Father, Mr. Lu, you probably don't know that when Shin Mo was 3 years old, he asked me who his father was. I told him his father died in a morally corrupt murder. In his heart, you've long been memorialized with a tombstone and had paper offerings burned for you. As for returning to the ancestral family, the Shan family's reputation now far surpasses that of your Lu family. Momo Yang Yang, say hello to Uncle Lu. I waved toward the upstairs. 2 small heads peeked out from the balcony. Mr. Lu, according to the civil code, you have no evidence to prove you are our biological father, even if you obtain a DNA report. I can use technical means to prove that report is forged. Shinmo pushed up his glasses coldly. Additionally, if you continue to cause a disturbance on private property, I will call the police and sue you for harassing minors. Shinya smiled brightly, waving the small fork in his hand. Uncle Lu, if you have a cold, remember to drink more hot water, although hot water can't fix the holes in your brain. Lu Shu looked at the identical coldness in the eyes of the 2 children, feeling as if his soul had been drained. He collapsed completely in the rain-soaked ground. He finally realized that what he had lost was not just a wife, but all the possibilities of continuing his life. Let's go. Breakfast is ready. Jiu Yunin gently took my hand, and we walked side by side into the warm house. The heavy solid wood door slowly closed before Lu Shu. Through the last sliver of light from the door crack, I saw Lu Shu curled up in the rain like a lone wolf gravely wounded, letting out desperate, fragmented whimpers on the empty street. Once I thought he was my god, and I could lower myself into the dust for him. Now I realize that when I stand up, he is nothing but the most pitiful and laughable speck of dust among all living beings. Luciu, this is only the 7th day since our reunion. The despair you gave me has just begun to flow back. I want you to remember this moment's chill on every rainy night to come. To remember that Xin Qingqiu, who once had eyes only for you, the one you personally buried, the Lu Group Tower, this steel behemoth that once symbolized the pinnacle of Haing's business world is now shrouded in a deathly silence under a layer of dark clouds. In the boardroom, the long 10 long mahogany round was fully occupied. Lu Shu sat at the head, his originally crisp and ironed suit now appearing somewhat loose, making his figure seem even more solitary. In front of him lay an emergency capital injection agreement, while across the table sat several old shareholders with troubled expressions and evasive eyes. Mr. Lu, it's not that we're being unreasonable. The eldest director, Wang, coughed lightly, avoiding Lu Shu's bloodshot eyes. The Blue Sea project is not only stalled, but also suspected of large-scale patent infringement. Our overseas partners have already sent a joint legal notice. L Group stock has hit the limit down for 7 consecutive trading days. If we keep burning money like this, all the shares in our hands will become worthless. Lu Shu's knuckles pressed against the desktop turned white, his voice cold enough to freeze ice shards when we were expanding. You were the quickest to take your dividends. Now that we've hit a technical bottleneck, you want to pull your investment. This isn't a withdrawal of funds. It's cutting losses. Another board member snorted coldly. I heard that Lungu Capital has secretly acquired 30% of the shares from retail investors. The Lu Corporation is no longer solely under your control. Lu Shu, they've sent a fully authorized representative today, claiming they want to carry out a restructuring. Lu Shu's heart jolted violently. Lungu Capital, once again, it was the mastermind behind the codename S-Bang. The heavy double doors of the conference room were abruptly pushed open from the outside by 2 bodyguards. The sound of high heels striking the cold, hard marble floor was crisp, steady, and rhythmic, each step seeming to land on Lucas' fragile nerves. I was dressed in a deep purple silk blouse paired with high-waisted black, wide-leg trousers. A thin gold chain cinched at my waist, and my long hair was neatly tied back. Behind me followed Shin Mo, holding a laptop, and Xinyang, who was casually twirling a custom-made pen in his hand, wearing an innocent smile. President Lu, long time no see, I said, walking directly to the empty seat opposite Lu Shu, pulling out the chair and sitting down gracefully. Lu Shu stared at me intently, his eyes swirling with self-mockery and shattered pain. Onyo, or should I say, Shinchingo, is this what you wanted to bring down the Lu family century-old foundation through a capital siege? It wasn't me who destroyed the Lu family. It was your arrogance and indulgence toward Lin Man. I took a shareholding certificate from Xiaolu and casually tossed it onto the center of the table. Allow me to formally introduce myself. I, Anna, currently hold 51% of the voting shares in the Lu Group according to the company's bylaws. I now propose to replace the current CEO, Lu Shu, and take full control of all L Group operations myself. The room erupted in an uproar. The shareholders exchanged glances. Then one by one, they switched sides. I agree. Director Wang was the first to raise his hand, his eyes full of calculation. With the backing of Lungu Capital and the reputation of the Queen of Actuarial Science, only under Anna's leadership can the Lu Group's stock price stabilize. I agree. 2. Lu Shu watched as those subordinates, who had once been subservient to him, instantly turned to my side. He suddenly laughed, his laughter low and desolate. Henching Cho, you've calculated every step. He stood up, his gaze sweeping over the 2 children before finally landing on my face. You even involved the children, letting them witness their own father being kicked out. Mr. Lu, allow me to correct the data. Shinmo's cool, clear voice echoed through the hall. He quickly typed on the screen, then projected a list of financial discrepancies onto the large screen. This isn't scheming. It's returning what belongs to its rightful owner. For years ago, when you annexed the 6 core subsidiaries of the Shin family, you used an illegal gambling agreement. Mom is just taking back the lifeblood that originally belonged to the Shin family from your decaying body. Shinyang also chimed in, jumping onto a chair and wagging his finger like a little adult. And Uncle Mommy taught us that business is about integrity. Since you'd rather let a good woman go to jail for a bad one, it shows your decision-making system has serious logical flaws. You're not fit to continue as CEO. You can retire and go home. We'll buy you the most expensive massage chair. The board members couldn't hold back a burst of laughter. Lu Shu staggered slightly, looking at me with a hoarse voice. So from the day you returned to the country, you already foresaw today. No. I stood up, straightened my collar, and stepped closer to him, backing him against the floor-to-ceiling window. From the moment I signed the divorce agreement, I already foresaw your downfall. Lu Shu, the power, status, and reputation you value most. Now they're all mine. I took a pen from my bag and handed it to him. Sign this resignation letter, and I might consider letting you keep the apartment under your name so you won't end up homeless. Luciu took the pen, his hand trembling slightly. He looked at the report, then out the window at the empire he had built with his own hands. Once this had been his throne from which he looked down upon the world. Now it had become the grave he had dug with his own hands. He signed quickly, just as decisively as he had when he made me sign the divorce agreement back then. Qingqiu, if I give up all of this, leave with nothing, could I buy myself a chance with you? He put down the pen, a final glimmer of humble hope flickering in his eyes. I took the document, coldly stepped past him, and walked to the head seat to sit down. Mr. Lu business is like a battlefield. There is no room for IFS here. From now on, Lu Group is officially renamed Shin Global. Please have security escort Mr. Lu out. His current status is not suitable for our internal meeting. The security guard stepped forward, polite but firm in his demeanor. Lu Shu took one last look at me sitting on the throne and the two genius children by my side whom he could never touch. He suddenly realized that what he had lost was not just the company, but the only redemption within his reach in this lifetime. The moment he walked out the door, I did not look back, listening to Shin calmly lay out the new financial structure and hearing the shareholders' flattering congratulations. I felt an unexpected sense of peace within. The thrill of revenge reached its peak at this moment. Yet, it quickly transformed into a higher dimensional sense of control. Luciu, you once left me with nothing. Now, I not only want you to have nothing, but I also want you to watch me stand at the height you once dreamed of, living a brilliance you can never reach. Listen to the answer. The solemn marble exterior of High C, First Court, looked particularly imposing under the overcast sky. Today is the final sentencing day for Lin Man, who faces multiple charges. I sat in the first row of the gallery, wearing an impeccably tailored dark green cashmere coat that accentuated my pale complexion, my eyes reflecting a detached, unyielding rationality. In the defendant's seat, Lin Man, once the glamorous future Mrs. Lu, now had her hair cut short, dressed in a gray prison uniform, her hands shackled in cold handcuffs. She had shrunk into herself, her former arrogance completely replaced by deep-seated fear. Defendant Lin Man suspected of forging medical certificates, contract fraud, defamation, and the attempted intentional injury of Xinqing Cho 4 years ago with conclusive evidence. This court hereby pronounces. The judge's voice was loud and authoritative, each word striking Lin Man's heart like a heavy hammer. Sentenced to 15 years in prison and confiscation of illegal gains totaling 320 million yuan in his name. No, I didn't do it. It was all Shining Cha scheme. Shu, save me. Lin Man struggled frantically, her shrill voice piercing the quiet courtroom. She turned her head to look at the witness stand where Lu Shu sat with a haggard expression. Lu Shu slowly stood up, his gaze sweeping past Lin Man without a trace of emotion, even carrying a heavy sense of disgust. He walked toward the podium, holding a secret recording from 4 years ago in which Lin Man had bribed a hitman to try to kill me on the Cross Sea Bridge. As a witness, I will present the final piece of evidence. Lu Shu's voice remained as cool as ever, yet it carried a ruthless determination to destroy everything. Lin Man not only embezzled funds from the Lu Group, but also, for years ago, personally induced me to sign the agreement that sent Qingqiu to prison. All these years, she has been blackmailing my emotions with the fabricated truth of that car accident. Lin Man was like a chicken with its neck wrung, instantly falling silent. She stared at Lu Shu in disbelief. The man she had relied on for 4 years was now, personally, pushing her into the abyss. Take her away. The baif stepped forward and coldly dragged Lin Man, who had collapsed on the floor, out of the courtroom. I stood up, elegantly adjusted my gloves, and prepared to leave. Qingqiu in the corridor of the courthouse. Lu Shu blocked my path. He looked much thinner with sunken eyes. The gaze that once brimmed with a desire for control now held only a humble plea. Lin Man has already been imprisoned. I've helped you settle all the debts from back then. His voice was horsero as he tried to use this as leverage, hoping to make me pause for even a second. I've already transferred the jewelry your mother left at the Lu family's old mansion, along with all the land the Shan family originally had that was swallowed up by the Lu family into your name. This is what I owe you. I stopped in my tracks and turned my head to look out the window at the reporters, frantically snapping photos of us. Mr. Lu, you've misunderstood something, I said coldly, my gaze sweeping over his face as if looking at a stranger. Lin Man went to prison because she broke the law, not because of your mercy and the Shin family's assets. I reclaimed them through my own efforts, not as a gift from you. Do you have to be so ruthless? Lucia let out a self-mocking laugh. To get back at me, you won't even let me see the children. I'm their biological father. I have visitation rights. Visitation rights. I chuckled softly, taking a restraining order signed by a top prosecutor from Xiaolu and slapping it against his chest. Mr. Lu, given your history of violent tendencies, such as forcing the mother of your minor children into prison, and the fact that the Lu family is currently burdened with debt and your emotional state is highly unstable, the court has approved my application until the children come of age. You are prohibited from appearing within a 1-kilometer radius of them. Lu Shu's face instantly turned deathly pale, his fingers gripping the document so tightly they turned white from the pressure. Shinkinko, you are truly ruthless. Ruthless. I took a step closer, lowering my voice, my tone filled with the thrill of revenge compared to the Lu Shu who made me choose 4 years ago. My methods are nothing but a clumsy imitation. Mr. Lu, take your time enjoying your remaining years alone. That will be the greatest judgment for you. I walked past him and strode toward the courthouse entrance. At the foot of the steps by the entrance, Jiu Yunin was holding an umbrella, leading Shinmo and Xinyang, who were dressed like 2 little gentlemen waiting for me. Mommy. Xinyang joyfully rushed over and grabbed my hand. Will that strange Andy have to live in an iron cage from now on? That's really great. She won't be able to steal your pretty jewelry anymore. Shinmo, on the other hand, adjusted his glasses and glanced at Lu Shu, who was walking out of the courthouse. There was no hatred in his eyes, only a detached indifference that seemed to see through everything. Mommy Shunch Global's opening price rose by 5 percentage points today. As a reward, can we go eat your favorite private kitchen cuisine tonight? I bent down and kissed Dao's forehead. Of course you can. Our family of 4, if you count Jiu Yunin, walked toward the extended Bentley, the symbol of new wealth. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Lu Shu stood on the high steps of the courthouse, the wind and rain tousling his hair. He watched Xinyang acting kiddishly in Jiu Yun's arms, saw Shin Mo protectively standing by my side like a little adult, and observed the family that once belonged to him, now seamlessly embracing another outstanding man. At that moment, he finally understood what it truly meant to leave with nothing. What he lost was not money nor reputation, but the most precious things in this world that can never be regained: trust and belonging. The car window slowly rose, obscuring Lu Shu's face, which was etched with regret and despair. Leaning back in the leather seat, I watched the children play, feeling the warmth of Jiu Yunin's palm as he reached out. The blade of revenge had been sheathed, and now upon this field of ruins, I was finally about to bloom into my own most brilliant wilderness. Lin Man's 15 years in prison, Lu Xiu's lifetime of regret. This is the best conclusion I could give to that mistaken marriage. The dusk in Haiching saw the setting sun scattering like shattered gold across the helipad atop the Shuna Global Tower. This was the highest point in the entire city. The wind, carrying a hint of cool dampness, tousled the stray hairs by my ears. I had changed out of my usual sharp business suit and slipped into a minimalist silk white dress, standing barefoot at the edge of the rooftop, gazing down at the ant-like flow of traffic below. Mommy, the helicopter will land in 5 minutes. All flight routes have been approved, and the manor in Zurich has prepared your favorite white tea. Shinmo pushed open the glass door to the rooftop and stepped out. He was nearly 5 years old now, having grown quite a bit taller. The calm and intelligence in his eyes increasingly resembled Lu Shu in his youth, yet with a gentleness that Lu Shu had never possessed. Momo, look at the night view of Haiyan. Isn't it beautiful? I didn't turn around. My voice soft, beautiful, but I prefer the snowy mountains of Zurich. Shinmo walked over to me, took my hand, and said, Mommy, you really don't have to leave just to avoid that man. With the Shin family as it is now, all you have to do is lift a finger, and he won't even have a chance to get near this building. I turned around, ruffled his hair, and smiled self-deprecatingly. Avoid? No, Momo. I stayed here because I had a score to settle. Now that the score is settled, I'm leaving because this muddy pit no longer deserves the rest of my life. Just then, the elevator door to the rooftop opened once again. 2 bodyguards blocked a disheveled figure. It was Lu Shu. He didn't know how he managed to bypass the security system downstairs. Perhaps Shinmo had deliberately left a back door for him to take one last look. Stumbling his way up to the rooftop, he was wearing a faded shirt and his once custom-made expensive leather shoes were badly worn. Over the past year, the Lu family's business had collapsed to repay the massive debts incurred because of Lin Man. He had sold off all his assets and was now just a down-and-out employee struggling to make a living in an ordinary office building. Ching Chio, Lu Shu's voice trembled in the wind. He stopped 10 m away, not daring to take another step closer. I looked at him calmly, my gaze as if I were looking at a yellowed old newspaper. Mr. Lu trespassing on private property is not something a civilized person should do. I heard you're leaving, taking the kids to Switzerland to settle down. His eyes were red as he stared intently at Shinmo beside me, then turned to look at Xinyang, who was running out holding a model airplane. Uncle Lu, are you here to say goodbye again? Xinyang stopped in his tracks, tilting his head. His tone was polite, yet carried a distant formality. Mommy says, we're going to a place with no memories of a bad dad to start over. Lu Shu was struck as if by lightning. He suddenly knelt on the concrete ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Chingcho, give me one more chance. Just one. I don't want the shares. I don't care about my reputation. I'd even work as a security guard at your company. Just let me see the kids. See you every day. I slowly walked up to him, looking down at the man who once controlled my fate. Lusu, do you remember 4 years ago when I also knelt at the door of that cold interrogation room, begging you to give me a chance? I calmly toyed with the ring on my finger, my tone devoid of emotion. Back then, you said that a scheming woman like me would only dirty the Lu family's ground, even in death. So, what act are you putting on now? I truly regret it. Every night when I close my eyes, I see the image of you covered in blood, dragging me out of the car. That Lin man has gone mad, and I've lost everything. Isn't that enough? He crawled over, trying to grab the hem of my skirt. I deftly avoided him. My gaze is cold as frost. It's not enough because all you've lost is money and status. But what I lost back then was all my trust and dignity in this world. I pointed to the helicopter that had already descended and was hovering nearby. Do you see that man? Jio Yunin stepped down from the helicopter, dressed in a crisp captain's uniform, exuding an imposing aura without even glancing at Lu Shu. He walked straight to my side, naturally took the luggage from Shin's hand and wrapped his arm around my waist. Qingqiu, it's time. Jio Yunin's voice was deep and pleasant. Okay, I gave him a gentle smile. I turned to look at Lu Shu, and these were the last words I ever said to him in this lifetime. Lu Shu, I no longer hate you because hatred is also a form of emotional connection, and you no longer even have the right to be hated by me. In my world, you have been completely formatted. From now on, there will be no Xingqiu in Haichin, only Anna, who will forever be beyond your reach. You can grow old slowly in this regret. With my 2 children, escorted by Jio Yunin, I boarded the helicopter. The cabin door slowly closed, cutting off Lu Shu's heart-wrenching cries. The deafening roar of the helicopter's rotors filled the air as the aircraft lifted off. Through the window, I looked down to see Lu Shu reduced to a tiny black, appearing so absurd and lonely atop this bustling city of Haiching. Lin Man spent the rest of her life in a dark, sunless prison, while Lu Shu withered away day by day, tormented by poverty and regret. This was the most perfect conclusion to this grand drama of the wealthy family. Mommy, what are we watching? Xinyang snuggled into my arms. We're looking at the past. I kissed his forehead and turned to gaze at the stars that had already begun to twinkle in the distance. But now we're going to look toward the future. The helicopter cut through the sky, racing toward the afterglow of the setting sun. There is no scheming, no betrayal, only the free and brilliant wilderness that belongs solely to me. Shinkingo, I leaned against Ju Yunin's shoulder, watching Shinmo planning the new blueprint for Shuna Global in Europe on his notebook, a slight smile curling at the corner of my lips.